Hello everyone, there's a lot to dissect from this past weekend, so let's get right into it here on Durrett's Take. So, like I did last week, I'm going to go over my one phrase summary for each of the games. So let's start with Bengals versus Browns. Burrow will win Rookie of the Year. I know the Browns defense is not the Ravens defense per se, but Joe Burrow, if he keeps playing like this, 3 touchdowns, 61 passing attempts from Thursday night, he will win this award hands down, in my opinion. Falcons versus Cowboys. Too slow. The onside kick was slow, then as soon as it passes the 10-yard line, a Cowboy player was able to jump on it before a Falcons player does. The thing is, if you're a Falcons player, why would you let this happen in the first place? Unlike the kicking team, you're allowed to get the ball any time. You don't have to wait till it gets to the 10-yard line. So that was a total meltdown. But Cowboys, though, they aren't out of the woods yet. Their defense, especially their secondary, was atrocious, and they're going to have to fix that if they want to survive more games. But in the end, how about them Cowboys? So Jaguars versus Titans. Minshew magic is over. Minshew didn't play bad per se, and the first interception wasn't really all his fault, but that second one was because he's kind of a shorter guy like Wilson Breeze. The ball was thrown to a point that the DN can just tip it and then catch it. So basically what I learned is that the Jags may not be good enough to have a magical season, but they will upset some teams this year. They're not going to be a pushover, like I'm already seeing like the Jets to be or something like that. Giants versus Bears. Once again, inconsistency. Bears last week didn't get anything going to the fourth quarter, but now this past game was the opposite, where they were rolling in the fourth quarter. They shut down while they let the Giants to almost win the game. They got lucky, so. And these were also against both of these teams were pretty easy to beat, so I want to see them face like a Green Bay and see if they can get lucky again. Vikings versus Colts. Gambled wrong. The Vikings gave Cousins a 3-year extension and overpaid him, in my opinion. And now he looks really lost right now. Vikings, for what? Vikings, in my opinion, are definitely not going back to the playoffs this year, based on what I saw. Good sign, though, if you're a Bears fan. Lions versus Packers. I'm paying attention. Even though it's the Lions and the Vikings don't appear relevant, I'm going to be close to them to see how the offense runs against New Orleans in Week 3. Win or lose, if it runs great, then the Packers are finally, in my eyes, a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Broncos versus Steelers. Not this season. I thought Broncos could make a push for a wildcard spot this season, with their left tackle opting out of the season, injuries to Von Miller, Sutton, wide receiver Sutton, now Drew Lock's out 2 to 6 weeks. They just need to realize they're not going to go anywhere this year. So if I were them, even though they're not going to say it or maybe do it, I would tank if I were them. Get a good pick, hopefully maybe in the top 6 or 5 or so. Get some more good draft picks there. 49ers versus Jets. Things are getting thin. If any team besides Denver has the injury bug this season, it's the 49ers. Garoppolo, Monster, and Bosa all got hurt. Bosa, since he got carted off, but it's probably not a good sign. They're thinking he has a 20 ACL, which is not good. But they're still able to win against the Jets because they're the worst team in the NFL, in my opinion. They can go 0-16. But since they have, so they play the Giants next. And they should be able to survive against the Giants despite all the injuries. But once they start playing a few more tougher teams, it'll be interesting to see how all these injuries come into effect. With the Seahawks, Cardinals, and Rams all having success so far, the 49ers need to get at least some of these players back and healthy if they want to compete this season. Bills versus Dolphins. Good try, Miami. Miami looks pathetic against New England, but I'm so glad they gave it all they had against Buffalo. Now that's what I expect of Brian Flores' team look like with Ryan Fitzpatrick out there. You're not going to win most of your games, but you're going to fight and look competitive and play tough. So now when Tua can eventually come in, then the Dolphins can maybe have more success. Rams versus Eagles. Battle of the overpaid quarterbacks. Because in my opinion, I think they're both overpaid. But Goff at least looked the part yesterday. Wentz is not. Part of that is a bad line, of course, but I think it's still partly his fault as well. So now the Eagles catch a break because they play Cincinnati this upcoming game. So if the Eagles' O-line struggles against Cincinnati, one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the league, a must-win to, and this, by the way, is a must-win for Eagles to avoid a 0-3 start. If they can't, if the O-line struggles against Cincinnati, their season's over. Just write them off. By the way, the NFC East looks like it's going to be one of the worst divisions again this year, if not the worst. Washington versus Arizona Cardinals. Is this the 49ers of last year? Question mark. Before you go off of me, I'm not saying they're going to be the Super Bowl. Going to make the Super Bowl like the 49ers did last year. But the 49ers are the most improved team as far as wins go and talent. And so far, I'm seeing Arizona kind of looking like that. They're starting off 2-0 so far. And I feel like they can, instead of winning just 5 games last year, I feel like they can, best case scenario, I feel like they can double that to 10 based off what I'm seeing so far. So, having to start top 3 wide receiver, and DeAndre Hopkins has been helping the Cardinals, and I expect them to continue to maybe make some noise. Chiefs versus Chargers. Not all games will be blowouts. For the Chiefs fans alarmed that they had to win in overtime, don't be. It's the NFL. Good teams will struggle sometimes on a Sunday. The Chargers defense is top 10, maybe even top 5 in the NFL. So when in trouble, Mahomes, like all great QBs should do, calmly carried his team to victory. Now, as the Justin Herbert goes, I thought he did a pretty good job being thrown to the fire right before the game started, being told, "Okay, you have to start." Like Burrow's doing so far, if you're the Dolphins and you're seeing Herbert and Burrow have success despite this pandemic, if I'm Miami, I would have Tua starting sooner rather than later if I were them, at least if they want to stay competitive this season. The Chargers, by the way, in my opinion, I kind of like how Arizona feels going to be better. Chargers, in my opinion, are going to be a sneaky team this year. Ravens versus Texans. Watson needs a Holmes. Deshaun Watson's struggling so far without Hopkins, it's obvious. He needs his Sherlock Holmes, if you will. And if I'm Bill O'Brien, if you want to be taken seriously and you want to be a legitimate contender, you need to make a trade. So go get Odell Beckham Jr. or something. You need something. Patriots versus Seahawks. Close call. I thought throwing out 3-1 was a stupid decision by Pete Carroll, despite Wilson performing well. If it was like 3-3 or more, then I would understand taking the risk. But you can get 1 rushing yard. It's not that hard to get 1 rushing yard. So luckily it didn't cost them, barely though, because the Patriots at the 1-yard line and Cam Newton couldn't punch it in. But and that's how the Seattle season been going, honestly. A bunch of bareleys, because while the Seahawks have a good defensive players like Bobby Wagner and Jamal Adams who had a great game, it's just like the defensive line for Seattle is horrible. And if that's how they're going to continue to play, Seahawks are going to be in a lot of shootouts and a lot of close games. Saints versus Raiders. So obviously with the game has been played, but the question I have is, what's life without Michael Thomas? So to be honest, if this is the only game Thomas is out for, I don't think it'll affect the Saints that much, but Vegas doesn't have a good defense. I feel like a lot of Saints wide receivers will be able to step like Devontae Harris, Raekwon Smith, Jared Cook using Tyna Moore, Taysom Hill, and using more as a wide receiver type of thing. I feel like they have enough weapons where they'll be just fine. Okay, so to review my NFL picks from last week, I actually got all of them right except for the Vikings Colts ones. I'm done with the Vikings, so I won't make that same mistake again. And then later, by Thursday, I'll make my picks for week 3, which will be interesting. I'm liking the games for week 3. There's a lot of good ones on paper. So let's talk about what's happened with the NBA playoffs recently. So my takeaway for the Heat and Celtics series so far is it turns out Gordon Hayward really does make a big difference. So coming out of the bench, he only had 6 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. And by the way, the Heat bench outscored the Celtics bench once again because of Tyler Hero. But so that was the first game where I was wrong to where the bench that had the better points actually didn't win. But with Gordon Hayward back on the floor, even if 6 points, 5 rebounds, 4, it's good coming off from injury. But it's like with Gordon Hayward, he can do better. But at least if that's the best he can do, at least it puts another shooter on the floor for the Heat defense to respect. So it's harder it's hard to double team certain people. But then also it gives stars players like Tatum and Brown Walker longer rests on the bench. So by the end of games, they don't blow those big leads. So it's very big. But now if you're Eric Spoelstra, you need to figure out here how to adjust. Because Brad Stevens just did a move to where if the Heat aren't careful, it could be like a check soon, like in the game of chess, where check means you have to move your king. So I believe in Eric Spoelstra. I believe he'll kind of just figure it out, but we need to see it now. Um, Brad Stevens made his move. It's your turn to do it next, Spoelstra. Nuggets versus Lakers. So good job, Nuggets, to make this a game interesting in the fourth quarter and not snooze fest like it was in game one. I don't blame the Nuggets at all for their game two loss. Now some people may disagree, but in my opinion, based off of what I've seen, I don't think AD is a clutch player on game winner, especially in the playoffs. So if LeBron or even Rondo, who happen to be passing the ball, but if one of those two made the winning shot, then I would blame the Nuggets because those two are known clutch players. So you got to make sure they don't get the ball. Yeah, so I mean, this is pretty interesting. Lakers, in my opinion, got lucky, but it all comes down to Game 3 though, because no team's coming back down from Game 3, so it all depends on that. Um, so now to review my actually I'm gonna save that for next week. So yeah, that's gonna be it for now. So thank you very much for listening to my podcast. Please tell everyone about me. Let me know what you want me to talk about in the future. Thank you very much, and y'all have a wonderful day.